It's a very dangerous time, and the only people who are going to win are people who have companies, people who have structures, not just an LLC, not just your S Corp. It's not going to help you. Better than just being a social slave. Having a C corporation and a partnership combination, that is where you're going to benefit. Your taxes start getting reduced. And like I said earlier, if your tax can go to zero, how rich would you be? Tariffs or not?
So I think it's sort of interesting, some of the things that are happening and the shifts that we're having. Is talk to us a little bit about the tariffs, because I know there's so much upset around the tariffs, right? We have some friends who manufacture things, and obviously the tariffs are going to massively impact their business. But talk to us a little bit about the tariffs. Maybe people don't even know exactly what a tariff is, and a lot of people don't, and they're just scared without knowledge, actually, which is something we don't do here at Executive Money Strategy. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about tariffs.
Yeah, fear shows up because you don't have knowledge, or there's actual danger, but there's no actual danger. So, a tariff is something that a government imposes on an import or an export for whatever their political reasons are. So for many, many years, many decades, Mexico and Canada have imposed tariffs on importing American goods. Most people don't realize that. So for you to, if you make stuff and you send it as an import to Canada, Canada will charge the importer. They will not charge you. They charge the person in Canada who's importing it, whatever that, was it 25 or more now? Mexico, the same. That's not new. That's been going on for decades. Same with China. China, if we import things to China, export from America and import to China, Chinese businesses importing pay a hefty tariff. We have not been causing tariffs to happen on our imports to try to keep prices down, which is great. That works. We get cheap everything in America. The problem is there's no labor in America. And the only people laboring, well, now we're deporting. So, I live in a small town in Tennessee. There's no skilled labor here. That we have a paper mill, and there's a few thousand people that work there. It's a big place. There's also a quarry. They work there. Mm-hmm. But everybody else here in this little town of about 9,000 people, service. Nothing's built here. Nothing happens. Just the paper mill and the quarry. And if you go for miles in any direction out here in Tennessee, it's the same story. Service towns without any real industry. So the theory is, and this is not new, this has gone on for hundreds of years, not in America, all over the place. If you want to stop sending stuff overseas and start bringing the wealth back to your country, you stop importing or make it so expensive to import that money nobody wants to spend. So when we import things to America from China, the current administration has imposed a massive tariff on steel, aluminum, products on top of it. And now the importer pays that tariff. China didn't pay. They don't care. But now we're like 60, 70, 80% tariffs. Whoa, on stuff from China, because they believe, right or wrong, that getting things from China is hurting our economy. And I would agree with them. What doesn't necessarily translate, and where people are getting kind of starting to see that I'm not sure this works, is yes, it makes it very expensive for American businesses who've been manufacturing things offshore. Right. The idea is, okay, that's too expensive. We should hire Americans. And now there's no tariffs. We should build our plants here. And now and there'll be incentives. And there are incentives. And that's one of the reasons why they were looking forward to them reducing the taxes for people who want to do business here. But no one's yet making that transition to think, oh, there's enough American skilled labor here in the United States to make that work. And that is the gap. We don't have the skilled labor. There's now massive tariffs. So for a minute, and maybe a couple of minutes, prices are going to skyrocket. And it won't be because of inflation. Everybody say, oh, it's inflation. No, not this. This is not inflation. This is supply and demand. Right. There's a difference. Inflation's caused by, honestly, fundamentally, all you economists would be like, well, that's not true. You prove me wrong. inflation is caused by devaluing the dollar. The less valuable the dollar is, the more dollars it takes to buy something. And whether you devalue it because people are selling it on the open market and getting rid of it, dumping it, or people are printing it out of control because they can't afford their own national budget, you're devaluing the dollar. There's only so much America. If I had $1 that represented all of the value of America, a very valuable dollar indeed, but then I printed $1 trillion more dollars, what's the value of that dollar now? 1 trillionth of what it was a minute ago. That's inflation. And it costs me now, well, I could have bought America with this dollar. Now I need 1 trillion of them to buy America. And if I make 1 trillion more, now I need a sextillion of them there. I think that's the number, 10 trillion, whatever that is, a lot. The values are getting devalued just because they're printing them. So if you can stop printing, and then what happens is prices are going to have to go up because it's so much more expensive to bring goods in. But that's not inflation. That's supply and demand problems. It's too difficult. There's a great demand for less products, or they're more expensive to purchase. So that's where we're at. It's a very dangerous time. And the only people who are going to win are people who have companies, people who have structures. Not just an LLC, not just your S Corp. It's not going to help you. Not really. Some. Better than just being a social slave. But having a C corporation and a partnership, S Corp, something combination, that is where you're going to benefit. What we hope Congress is going to do with reducing the corporate tax and all the other things and extending the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, then we as business owners, even if you just have a side hustle, you're starting to benefit. Your taxes start getting reduced. And like I said earlier, if your tax can go to zero, how rich would you be? Tariffs or not? Anyway, that's the theory.
That's an amazing education. I know one thing, I'm starting to look around my house and ask myself the same question I asked during the pandemic, which is, what things do I need? And am I sure I'm going to be able to get them for the next 18 months? Right. So, I was slightly a little bit of a hoarder about things that just bring me a lot of comfort, right? During the pandemic. So I'm starting to do that process again and asking myself, I realized none of the makeup is made in America. None of it. None of your nail polish is made in America. All kinds of things in your house. If you start going and looking around, you will discover very little things in your life are probably made here. And so I started evaluating that and deciding what things might I want, a few extras of, so I don't have to spend so much when we start doing this.
I was just looking around at the gear just to make this podcast that I have in my little studio here. And I'm like, is there anything here made in America? I think this Audio Technica mic is made in America. I think that's it.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? So
it's the end of society is what we're talking about. And we've seen it over and over. Persia, Babylon, Rome, England. When the society became importing instead of exporting, it devolved, and it was the batons were handed over to the next civilization. So unless this can be solved, we're in the sunset of the constitutional republic. This is not democracy. I hope everybody understands. We are not in a democracy. It's not. This is the democracy we've been trying it for 200 years. No one's trying democracy. They've been trying that for thousands of years. It really doesn't work. How do we know? Go hang out in England for a year. That's democracy. Granted, they've got parliament and all of that, but that's more. That's that 51% of the people can keep 49% down. That's democracy. That's why the founding fathers of America said, that's not cool. That's the subjugation of almost half of your population by the other half, with only one tick in the other direction. Now, they've fixed a lot of it over the years. Constitutional republic, though, that's why what we have is so unique. Nobody has it. You have republic, France. You have democracy, socialism in the Commonwealth. But America, it's all different. Like, it's capitalism. Well, that's what's come out of it. but that doesn't mean that that's what it really is. And unless we can become an exporter again, we're looking at the sunset of this way of life.